Who's actually going to get the most out of the BERNETTE B77, who can safely walk away, and does it justify the price tag for a typical home sewer? Those are the three questions that keep popping up every time I stare at the glossy ads for a new sewing machine. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'll try to answer those doubts by walking through the real-world experience of setting up, using, and troubleshooting this model. When I first unboxed the B77, the biggest surprise was how little space it needed on the workbench. The machine sits on a compact metal base, yet the 5-inch color touchscreen spreads out like a mini tablet, giving you a clear view of stitch selections, tension settings, and even a step-by-step guide for common projects. That screen is more than just a pretty interface, it actually reduces the "what does this knob do" moments that can stall a beginner's momentum. If you've ever been stuck flipping through a paper manual while your fabric is already stretching, you'll appreciate the on-screen tips that appear when you select a stitch, especially the built-in sewing consultant that offers quick advice like use a stabilizer for knits or adjust thread tension for heavy denim. Those nudges feel like a virtual mentor, and they're most useful when you're trying something outside your comfort zone, like a buttonhole on a thick canvas bag. The dual-feed system is where the B77 starts to separate itself from entry-level competitors. In practice, dual feed means the upper and lower rollers move together, pulling the fabric evenly from both sides. For everyday projects, think quilting a 60-inch quilt top, sewing a pair of jeans, or stitching a stretchy dress. This translates to fewer puckering issues and smoother seams. I tested it on a medium-weight cotton linen blend for a summer shirt, and the stitch line came out consistently flat without the usual wavy look you sometimes see on cheaper machines. The back kick foot control also speeds up the process. A simple tap of the foot pedal reverses the stitch direction, which is handy for securing seams or undoing a mistake without reaching for a hand lever. However, the machine isn't without its trade-offs. The programmable foot control is a great time saver, but it does require a learning curve. The first few times I tried to set up a custom stitch length for a decorative satin stitch, the foot pedal didn't respond the way I expected because the default programming was still active. I had to dive back into the touchscreen menu, adjust the foot pedal settings, and then test again. For someone who just wants to drop a bobbin in and start stitching a pillowcase, that extra menu navigation could feel unnecessary. Another practical consideration is the range of built-in stitches. The B77 offers around 100 preset designs, which is respectable for a mid-range machine, but it doesn't cover every specialty stitch a serious seamstress might crave, like a built-in buttonhole style for heavy leather or a decorative feather stitch. You can still create custom stitches using the touchscreen, but that involves a bit of trial and error. If you're a hobbyist who mostly does straight seams, basic zigzags, and occasional decorative stitches, the stock library will be more than enough. If you're planning to dive into couture-level detailing, you may find yourself looking for an add-in or a more advanced model. One of the strongest selling points for the B77 is its price-to-feature ratio. Compared with other machines that sit in the same $400 $500 bracket, the BERNETTE gives you a color touchscreen, dual feed, and the consulting software without tacking on a huge premium. For a family that sews a few projects a month, like repairing kids' clothes, making simple home decor, or experimenting with beginner-level quilting, the value is clear. You get enough tech to keep the learning curve gentle, but you're not paying for high-end industrial features you'll never use. On the flip side, the machine might not be the best choice for someone who needs a heavy-duty workhorse. The motor is adequate for medium-weight fabrics, but when you push it with thick denim or multiple layers of canvas, it starts to lose a bit of speed, and you'll hear a faint hum as the motor strains. That's not a failure, it's just a reminder that this is a home-use machine, not a commercial overlocker. If you run a small sewing business that processes large orders of heavyweight garments daily, you might be better off investing in a machine with a stronger motor and a broader stitch library. Noise level is another subtle point. Because the B77 uses a fairly compact motor and the dual feed adds an extra set of rollers, the sound is a little louder than a basic single-feed machine. In a quiet apartment, the hum can be noticeable, especially if you're stitching late at night. It's not deafening, but it's something to keep in mind if you share living space with light sleepers. Let's talk about maintenance. The color screen is a nice visual tool, but it also means you have an extra electronic component that can be prone to fingerprint smudges or, in rare cases, screen flicker.